I'm following Carlo Fasciani, legendary big bass fisherman, claim to fame, Lake Conroe, Texas, now living in Duxbury, Massachusetts. If anybody, and I mean anybody, could find a lunker, it's Carlo Fasciani. I'm going to approach him now and ask him a few tips. He's a quiet man. He he doesn't like to talk much. But I'll approach him now. These Northeast fishermen are serious business. They don't mind if you come up to them and ask for their expertise, but don't talk too much, is what I've learned. Mr. Fasciani, how's the fishing today?
Fish can see you and hear you.
So tell me the story, Mr. Fasciani. You say the fish can hear you, and see you. What's the story about the big bass of the Northeast, as you call it? You think it might be the biggest bass in Northeast America. So tell me about that bass. I know he's in this pond right now. Was it right here where you saw the biggest bass?
Right over there.
It was right over here.
Right over there under that bush. It was leaves on all the trees, though. It was camouflaged very well.
So it was right under here.
Yeah.
And how, you estimated it at 18.2?
I estimate him at least a 12-pounder.
Well, Mr. Fasciani, I just said it was 18.2. You making me look stupid here on camera?
Oh, I thought you were talking inches. I think you were talking 18 inches. No, he's at least 28 inches.
You told me he was 18 pounds, 2 ounces.
18 pounds.
Okay. That's the world record is 23 pounds, 5 ounces. So it would be the biggest Northeast bass of all time. What's the record for the Northeast bass, would you say, Carlo? Would you say it's about 15 pounds?
I'd say 15, 16 pounds.
15 pounds. We're going to have to look that up later, folks. We're out here on Lake Cranberry Juice. It probably was a bog, one of the first bogs, but now it's a big pond, beautiful pond. And as I showed you before, the cranberry bogs are back there. But it's, end of the winter, so there isn't a million cranberries in there.
Right near that tree, Tony.
Folks, it's a little slow out here right now. Carlo, what would you say your biggest bass day was? Some people told me it was Huntsville Lake, or was it Lake Conroe?
Lake Conroe.
And what would you say you got in one day? Did you ever land, what's your personal best? 3 bass of weight? All right. He forgot, so. How about?
I believe one day we caught 8 fish, all of them over 4 pounds.
8 over 4.
The biggest one was probably 12.
He's lying.
There was a guy named Tony DiGregorio.
Okay, tell me about your friend's trot line up there. When we first saw the trot line, where did your friend live? What was that guy's name? He was your buddy.
Blair McPherson.
Blair McPherson.
One of the greatest fishermen of all time.
And he was a good guy, too. It was Carlo's work buddy at R.J. Reynolds. So we go up from Conroe. Was it Livingston he lived in? He lived in, yes. So he says he has a trot line. And we're on the lake, and I'm like, what the trot line? Typical Yankee, I didn't know what a trot line was. And he got to that trot line, he pulled up like a 6-pound bass, like a 15-pound catfish.
Multiple bass. Multiple catfish.
But they got that big, he got like a 5 or 6-pound bass. Maybe it was a little bit bigger than that, actually. It could have been closer to 7. Off his trot line. He got like 8 fish on the trot line. That's the best fishing there is. It's the easiest one. You just got to swim across the lake with your rope.
Still a little too cold out here.
You think it's a little bit too cold?
Yeah. I think it's a little too cold.
I think the wind is out of the south-south-north.
Barometric pressure was 32 over 89.
Well, it is. It's all about the barometric pressure. You are correct. So, Carly, you told me yesterday when we first started our fishing adventures that we could come to this place and if you want to catch bass after bass after bass,
Yeah.
we can go bass fishing. Okay. So then he started to say something else, and I said to him, let's go. And he goes, what? I go, let's go get the bass after bass after bass. Forget about the trout, and you don't have to tell any more stories, right? So I go, oh, no, we'll circle back around. So I have to ask you, for to keep this an editorially correct show, where are all the bass that you bragged about that we're going to get bass after
I
bass?
believe all the bass are locked on the bottom because the water temperature is too cold, and they're sitting on nests.
So he says they're sitting on nests. But then folks, I got to give him a hard interview here. Yesterday he said you got to bounce them off the nest and you can catch them. So I'm going to ask you, Carlo, why aren't you bouncing them off the nest right now? Or are you? That's the question.
I'm trying to, dumbass.
He's trying to. Folks, this is real.
Nest on the bottom, okay?
Folks, we're ad-libbing here, but this is our typical conversation whenever I interview Carlo about fishing, okay?
I'm going to tell you the God honest truth.
He does.
If I could see the nest, I'd be dropping on him.
So, but when we got here, Mr. Fasciani, you said the water's clear.
Yeah.
So what happened to the water in 10 minutes?
I was hoping that the clear water would be able to help me locate those nests, but they're so deep.
How far up do you think the water is over normal? 2 feet?
At least.
At least 2 feet.
Right there was on dry soil last time I was here.
That bush right there was on dry soil last time he was here. So that's about 2 feet. Well, I'm going to go check my line, folks. I'm check out for now.
They got lockmouth.
They got lockmouth.
Lockmouth.
So, Carlo, let me ask you a question. Recently I heard, and I think a big bass was caught on Lake Gibbons. Do you remember Lake Gibbons down in the Houston area where to fish the lake, you had to go through a lottery?
Yes, I do.
Okay, was it Gibbons? Is my question to you for outdoor life here in Northeast America, Cape Cod area?
I don't believe it was called Gibbons.
Because recently I heard about this reserve place in Texas Lake where they had to do the lottery thing.
Yeah.
And it brought back a memory of you telling me one of your accounts rigged up all of his phones to call in at once to get one of the
Speed dial.
Speed dial. He had all his...
Before speed dial existed.
Yes, he had a whole bunch of lines into it. I was just curious about that because I heard something about somebody catching a big bass in one of those tight places. Man-made.
There was a power plant there.
Power plant. Exactly.
Warm water or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I think you are remembering right. I'll have to check the name. The name doesn't matter. It's the idea of, what people will do to get that biggest bass of all time. They'll put their business on hold and put all the phones on speed dial before computers.
That's true.
So the guy rigged it. He had it going on. I don't know. Did he ever get a pass into the lake?
I don't recall.
We don't recall whether he got it. We hope that he did. We hope that he had a good day. I'm sure he did.
Watch this cast.
Okay, now let's watch this cast now.
See that brush?
We don't want to be in the brush. We want to be just in front of it. Let's see if he gets it. Oh, nope. Yeah, not bad. See, the Zepco will make up for what the man can't do. Right, Carlo? Tell me about the Zepco reel.
The Zepco reel, man, is the most amazing reel ever.
Okay, I'm going to pause for a second, then I'm going to get right back to the Zepco and give you a Zepco story.
Commercial break.
In Old Saybrook, Connecticut, at a cottage, and we're just having fun. My friends were there, and Carlo's brother Lorenzo was there. And I found a hermit crab on the beach, with the rocks and stuff. And anybody knows you find a hermit crab, you got to go black fishing, in the Old Saybrook, Long Island Sound. So I said to Lorenzo, let's go to Ham and Acid. He's like, what? Where's that? I go, come on. We jumped in the car. We were already in Old Saybrook, so it was only like 8 miles to Ham and Acid. We go out there with just our swim shorts on. I got my Zebco rod. That's all I had. I might have just bought it or something. Put that hermit crab, was a big hermit crab, on a big hook. We walked right out to the end of Meg's Point, and I hooked onto like an 8-pound blackfish. And Lorenzo was amazed. So we get it, and all the fishermen are out there. They got rain jackets on. They think they're in the nook of the north. Me and Lorenzo are out just with our bathing suits on, with no shoes. Walked all the way to the end of the rocks. Well, anyhow, long story short, some idiot guy trying to help me out grabs the line right in front of the hook and pulls, and the fish in the hook just swam away. But we saw that blackfish, and I was like in awe. That would have been my best fish of all time. Let's fast forward. Lorenzo is a fishing fanatic. How many boats has he gone through since that time? I take credit for turning him on to a little bit of fishing. Now, switch fish. We were just talking about bass. It's so nice out here. Does it really matter if you catch a bass? But the trout place down the lane, we met an old Northeastern guy. He yelled at us for saying hello. And he was keeping illegal trout. He caught 2. They weren't 20 inches. They were nice trout. They were like 15, 16, 17, good trout. But they weren't big enough. You got to be 20 inches, which I don't think I ever caught a 20-inch trout. Not that I caught a lot of trout, but I've caught over 100 trout in my fishing career, which is not a lot because people get 5 opening day every year for 20 years. But trout's not my deal. Trout is the experience of being out in a little bit of cold and nice water and crisp air. I mean, all the trout are stocked.
It's all about nature. It's all about God providing a beautiful environment.
It really is. And you know what is better than fresh air? Nothing. Okay, we're over here in hot spot number 2. This spot, how many bass do you think you've yielded off this spot right here in your career? Thousands. Because, I didn't tell you Carlo's company name, but Carlo is the fisherman from shore, bassmaster, never a boat. Carlo, how do you feel about boats and fishing?
A hole in the water.
A hole.
Pour money into, and you never get it back. It's like going down the toilet.
Yeah, see, he's a smart investor. So, even though there's a boat somebody abandoned over there, he don't want nothing to do it. He holds 6 or 7 town records for fishing from shore. He's got the striped bass. He's got the striper record over at what's the name of that inlet? Bay Farm, which is Norman Rockwell. We're gonna go there. Bay Farm is you could take a picture of it and say, you know what, Cape Cod, New England, or Duxbury on the water is beautiful. And if any of you recall, I wasn't shooting videos then, but I got a 22 inches. How big do they got to be? 23?
28.
28. So I got like a 27 inch. I thought it was like a 100-pounder. But it's I think my biggest fish I ever caught. It was about 8 pounds, 9 pounds.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, huh?
Nice fish.
Couldn't keep it though. Not that we want to keep it. But I gotta say, with what I'm learning about Carlo's mad cooking skills, you know what? He could turn a goldfish into lobster because he's mad. More later on when we have some lasagna, homemade lasagna Carlo made.
Goldfish lasagna.
Goldfish lasagna.